Hello chess family, it's me National Master Jesse James, and today we're going to be going over the final round, round 4 for the San Antonio Club Championship 2023. Alright, this was a biggie. We had 4 people going for first place at this point. We had Rodolfo Lozano with at 3 points. We had Jesse James Lozano at 2.5. Philip Light with 2.5 and Logan Smith at 2.5. So it really mattered this last round, the wins and the draws. Let's take a look and see what happens. Well, we're going to go ahead and start on board 3, as this was a mini, but it's still a goodie. This was between Ed Paul versus Michael. And here we go. We start with E4, D5. Pawn takes, queen takes, knight C3. We got a Scandinavian in here, queen to D6. You know, Eddie loves those. Pawn to D4, knight to F6, knight F3, pawn C6. Just getting the game really into play here. Bishop C4, and here, unfortunately, well, bishop to G4 got played, and white falls for a very basic trap here. Well, I guess he's still learning how to play this Scandinavian, and goes ahead and plays bishop takes on F7, thinking that, well, after king takes on F7, knight to E5 check, I'm just going to win back the piece, and, well, I'm going to be up an extra pawn, and the king's going to be, you know, misplaced over here. With that being said, it was black to move and win. What do you play here? Simple chess. This one was an easy one. Here, black all has to do is go play queen takes on E5 exclam, giving back, and, well, the bishop is going to be taking the queen. So after pawn takes, pawn takes, bishop takes, well, you're just up an extra piece here for no good reason. Ed Paul went on to win a very nice game here. Here, let's go ahead and jump to a second game, when this one was a very interesting one. This one was between Philip Light and Logan Smoot. And, well, this was a very interesting London system. So let's take a look. We started with D4, knight F6, bishop F4, pawn C5. Here Phil was very much ready for this. Pawn to E3, queen to B6. Definitely one of the lines that puts a lot of pressure on these London systems. Here B3 was played, which is not a very good move here. B3s are not good because the dark squares get weak. Although Phil does get a good opening advantage, he does mess it up. With that being said, well, we'll see how the game ends. The game is still very much fireworks. So here we go. Knight C6 got played. Knight to F3. Pawn to D6. A very weird looking move to me, but I assume this was some kind of theory that he had prepared. Bishop to D3. Bishop G4. Pawn to C3. This is pretty much needed as C takes D4 was being threatened. And here, pawn to E5. If you get E5 in as black, things definitely went right for you. And, well, E5 here looks like it's even winning a piece here. But after pawn takes, bishop to G5, here, well, E4 got played for the fork. And, well, bishop takes F6 is the only try here. Unfortunately for Phil, he chose the wrong move here. Black to move. What do you play? Do you take on F6? Do you take on F3 with the bishop? Do you take on F3 with the pawn? Pawn takes on D3. There's only one move here that's going to guarantee a huge advantage. Well, I guess 2 will give an advantage, but only 1 is the best move. Black to move. What do you play? Feel free to push pause here. Believe it or not, the best move here was to play pawn takes on D3. I know, that's pretty interesting, huh? After the bishop moves back to H4, now we get the nice idea of knight to E5, and now we see that this pin is just not doing any good here. It looks like white will most likely play knight B to D2, and there's lots of good moves here for black to play. Castling queenside looks like a good one in the future. The computer's giving queen to H6, pawn to G5. Here we're already at -2. Let's get back to the game. Here, after E takes on F3, now it is white who has the advantage. Pawn takes on F3, bishop to H5, bishop H4, bishop D6, knight D2 with a nice little threat of knight to C4 right here, knight to E5, bishop back, bishop G6, knight C4, knight takes, bishop to E5, and here queen to D2. At this point, white does have a good little advantage. With that being said, it is kind of hard to find which way we should castle. Should we go king side? Should we go queen side? It was really up in the air at this point. So, well, here, black went ahead and castled. And, well, unfortunately for Smoot, he could not find a good place for the king. So he went ahead and played king E2, which, believe it or not, is not the worst move in this position. It actually does make sense here. But with the king on the center, when I looked over, I definitely thought, well, I do prefer black here, even though he is down a pawn right now. Smoot is up an extra pawn here, but the king in the center, it is so much easier to play. And, well, with the shenanigans about to happen, well, we'll just go ahead and continue. King H8 got played. Looks like a weird move, but I'm pretty sure that here Philip is trying to play something like f6, maybe even f5 in the future, so that he can try to get the rook over to d8. Notice he can't get there with the bishop covering it, so maybe f6 was the idea with this. With that being said, Smoot went ahead and played pawn to f4. Be careful at this point. He helps solve his problems. Remember, I want to play rook to d8, but I can't because the bishop. Well, the bishop is now forced back to f6. Bishop trades, and by trading off this bishop, now black is actually in a very good position. The rook can come over to the d file. You can see that there's lots of weak light squares around here. It is now in equal position as far as computer says. With that being said, out of the top 5 lines, black is better in 4, and only 1 line is giving equality, only the best moves. All right, here we go. Smoot knows this is bad and tries to close the position. Bishop d5, a very nice original idea here. Well, rook a to d8 got played, and what was his idea? Pawn to c4, trying to close things off. All right, rook f2 e8. All of black's pieces are now ready to attack. And here, well, unfortunately for Smoot, he went ahead and played queen a5, a very, very bad move here. He was trying to go pawn grabbing. At this point, you got to get your pieces as active as possible, possibly find somewhere for your king to move to that is safe. And, well, why did he play queen to a5 here? Here he was setting up a little trap, thinking that after queen takes on f4, here he has queen takes on d8, and he can't take back because, well, then we'll take the queen. With that being said, well, Phil finds another very strong move here, and actually I'll go and give you a guess at it. Black to move. This is negative 4.5 in this position. Black to move. What do you play in this position? After this move, the game was pretty much just easily winning here for Phil. He went ahead and played bishop to h5 check, and here there is really no good moves here. There's already checkmating threats now in the position. Okay, in the game he went ahead and played pawn to f3, which makes sense, but after this move, well, here he went ahead and played pawn to b6. What's the idea here? The idea is to trying to bring the queen in for the check. Now the computer goes crazy here and does some other mean stuff. Instead of b6, Phil could have played this rook takes on d5. It goes into a crazy situation. Pawn takes, queen to d4, queen back to d2, and bishop takes f3, and white streams are over. Again, this is a very hard line to play. Here I definitely like how Phil played. Pawn to b6 makes sense to me. Here the queen took the pawn, and now it was game over. Queen to b2 check. Notice the king cannot go to the back rank, or else, well, we're going to be grabbing this rook in check. And, well, there's even checkmate threats here, too. With that being said, he played king to d3, and now, well, it's forced checkmate in 5. Here, Phil went ahead and started with bishop takes on f3. Look at this beautiful move. Attacking the rook, attacking the bishop, and, of course, it's being pinned. Here, Logan went ahead and played rook h2 e1, and now, well, checkmate in 1. Do you see it? Hopefully you do. A nice little slick checkmate here with bishop to e4, check and mate. With this win, Phil has now gone from 2.5 to 3.5, and well, he needs me, Jesse James Lozano, to go ahead and win my game against Rodolfo. Rodolfo had a 3.0, so well, either Rodolfo would need to draw, which would then give him that 3.5, or I would get the win, and then I would be able to get that 3.5 and take it away from him. Of course, a 4.0 would just win him the tournament by himself. Let's take a look. So this was my game against Rodolfo. I'm playing with the black pieces over here. He went ahead and started off with e4, c5. Typically, we do play to some Grand Prix, but it looks like he did not want this today and played pawn to c3. Here we got the c3 Sicile for the kill, as James Canty likes to say, or the Alpine Sicilian. Here I played knight f6. I'm very much prepped for this, and unfortunately, I don't think he was prepped as well as I was, as he went ahead and played pawn f3. Wah, wah. Yeah, this move is definitely not challenging, to say the least, although it is a very interesting move. At this point, I went ahead and just played knight to c6 here, just getting some good development and also preparing my pawn move to d5. He went ahead and played d4. I went ahead and took, and then played d5. Pawn to e5 and knight f to d7. Here, I really like my position. We have pretty much transposed back into a French defense, which I know how to play. And here, unfortunately, he made a mistake and played bishop to g5. Now, it is a very interesting move, as it's trying to stop me from playing pawn to e6 here. With that being said, black to move, and I believe I'm just winning a pawn here. What do you play? Simple chess, just queen to b6. Here, I'm attacking on d4, I'm attacking on b2. Yeah, everything looks good here. He went ahead and played knight c3, trying to go into some craziness. If I take on b2, knight takes on d5, things get a little crazy. There's no need for this. Pawn to e6, I am still forking on d4 and on b2, so there's nothing really to worry about. He went ahead and played bishop to b5, and this one is not too good at all. As well, just remember, guys, when you're playing this French defense, the bishop typically goes to d3. If you have to try to bring your bishop out here to trade off for a knight, the only thing you're really doing is losing your bishop pair, and you're usually just going to be helping out black's pawn structure. All right, well, free money. I went ahead and took on d4 now with the knight. He went ahead and played bishop to e3, and here, well, I did think for a little while, I almost went to this knight c2 check variation after queen takes e3, knight to e2, but I just didn't like this one. As you can see, although I am making some trades here, I did get the bishop pair, my development's not so good. So because of that, instead of playing that variation, I went ahead and played bishop c5. I typically would choose the one that is going to bring out my pieces, and this one also helps me get ready to castle. He went ahead and played pawn to a4, and after this, the game was just lost. And, well, there is not really too much to do. This is already a -4 position. Someone might be asking, hey, what's up with this pawn to b4 move? But unfortunately, it fell for the same tricks. Knight c2 check, queen takes, bishop takes on e3. And here I have so many threats here. Knight takes on e5. It's just, again, a losing position. Here we played pawn to a4. And here I was just able to trade down into a winning position and also grab an extra pawn while I did it. Knight takes on b5. Bishop takes on c5. Queen takes. Knight takes on b5, so now there is a threat with knight to d6 check, knight to c7 check, no worries. Knight takes on e5 here, and here queen to e2 is played. Notice rook c1 here is just a major blunder for a few different reasons. For one, you can play knight to d3 check, winning the rook. Of course, after queen takes in check. Another variation is queen to e3 check, and well, things are just getting bad too. You can't block with the queen because then you take the rook. Oh, dear Lord. If you play knight to e2, knight to d3 check, you're going to have to sacrifice your queen. So, yep, here he went ahead and played the queen to e2, and the game ended thusly. Knight to c4, pawn b3, knight back to d6. I'm very happy for trades. At this point, Rodolfo was also getting very low on time, too. Knight takes, queen takes, knight to h3, castles, bishop to d7, rook a to d1, e5 here, now getting a little tempo off the knight. Knight to g5, f6. I got some good pawns over here, so the plan is just to push them forward. Knight to e4, queen b6 check. Here he has to block with the knight. Bishop e6, just defending the pawn, and also getting ready to run forward. Future. King h1, jumping out of the pin. Rook a to c8, pawn to f4, e4 here. Now I got my beautiful passed pawn. I want to play pawn to f5 next, and then I could push forward with d4. At this point, he went ahead and played queen h5, but at this point, he did flag on time here. I know it's a very placid position, and it would have been more fun to play out a little bit more, but yeah, these were game 60s, and unfortunately, he ran out of time at this point. At this point, I was able to get my 3.5, so that means me, Jesse James Lozano, and Philip Light tied for first place for the San Antonio Club Championship of 2023. We are the champions for this. We are getting free entry into the San Antonio City Championship, which is June 9th through the 11th. Feel free to check that out if you want to. If you guys have any questions or comments, please let me know. And don't forget, give us a like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.